So Errol has bit the bullet at Cardiff, and I think we're starting to see the championship table shape up as a lot of the cream is starting to rise to the top. Here's my roundup of round 6. Starting on Friday night, Stoke 1, Hull 3. Not a great start for Stoke and their new manager. It wasn't a case of a bad first half either. I think they were a little fortunate that Ben Gibson and his raised elbows didn't result in a sending off, because I'm sure if the ref had seen it, it probably would have done, which would have changed the game. But, Stoke scored first, looked good, and then went and conceded 3 in the second half. Now, there was a degree of bad fortune with Hull's equaliser on Stoke's behalf. I will say that there was what looked like an offside in the build-up to the penalty, and of course they then missed the penalty. Johansson makes a decent save. It fortunately sort of falls back to Casey Palmer once again, who finishes the rebound. So maybe there was a bit of, balancing out with the look of Gibson's incident and then the penalty. But either way, what followed, Stoke can't really have any complaints about. It was, a really poor final sort of 10-15 minutes where they completely collapsed as Hull made it 2, made it 3. And it's a worrying time for Stoke City. I'm still hearing mixed things from Stoke fans around Steven Schumacher and the decision to sack him. We're starting to hear that they maybe have wanted to sack him since the end of last season, but they've only just sort of gotten up to doing it now. So everything just seems a mess at Stoke. And once again, they just can't keep their house in order and just have a settled season, and it's results like this that just make you continue to worry that they'll get dragged into something and probably be okay, but they're just in for another miserable season. As for Hull, catching Stoke on a day like this when they've got a new manager, they took advantage of it. I think they still looked pretty good. I think second half is a lot more promising from them, and I think for them it's key that they try and build on it. On to Saturday then, Norwich 4, Watford 1. Now this was a very good result for Norwich. What I will say is the goalkeeping for Norwich's first wasn't great from a Watford point of view, but their response looked really, really good. Jebison missed an absolute sitter for Watford, which would have got them right back in the game, and I think Watford, by the highlights, had chances that they didn't take, but Norwich going the other way were very good. This is probably the best I've seen them from what I could gather, both statistically and looking at the highlights under Hosthorpe. They looked really creative, 19 shots, 8 on target. I think they, looked really, really good, and to put 4 past the team is a massive boost of confidence. Sainz and Nunez on the score sheet as well. So, I did expect Norwich to edge this one at home, but 4-1 is a very, very good scoreline for them, and it could be the kickstart of their season, really. Now that things are starting to settle, they could really kick on from here, and this is sort of Watford, as I say, continuing to regress to them. They had a good start, but they've had a couple of away trips now to Sheffield United and now here at Carrow Road, where they have come out on the wrong side. So, their good start is starting to peter out. I think for them it's just a case of not panicking, that things are maybe starting to regress a little, maintaining a calm head, remembering where they are, remembering perhaps their expectations, and not sort of worrying too much and not allowing this result to spiral into anything worse. QPR 1, Millwall 1. Nailed this prediction. It's exactly what I said on Friday or Thursday. I said 1-1. And not much to say about this game, really. It seemed like a relatively even game. I think Millwall edged the chances and the quality of chances. But, 2 strikers. 2 maybe unexpected strikers who have been very, very good this season, with Duncan Watmore scoring again for Millwall. Frey scoring again for QPR. I think this is the sort of game we expected from the pair of them. Millwall looking really good going forward. Can't quite come away with the 3 points. QPR salvaging another point from being behind again. I think these two will be in and around where they will finish mid-table. So this isn't a result I'm not surprised by. Sunderland 1, Boro 0. Obviously, as always, I did a full review of this on my Project Boro reviewing show. So I'm not going to get it too far into it as always, but rinse and repeat from Boro. Sick of talking about it, sick of, mentioning it over and over again. What I will say is, we missed chances, big chances first half. Conceded from one of the few we gave up. Chris Rigg taking his goal very well. Second half for Boro was painful. It was just all possession, no penetration, no pressure, no real creation or inventiveness. It was really, really boring, dull, insipid stuff from Boro, who looked bereft of ideas. I think a lot of that needs to be credited to Sunderland's defending. Boro were, really, really poor going forward, and it's a real concern that we've been found out, at least before. You can say, well, we've created 30 shots, we've just not been clinical, but now it looks like teams just know how to beat us with ease. I couldn't believe it, within the first few minutes to see Sunderland at home, 42,500, a big game, willingly sitting back and letting Boro have the ball in their own backyard. That tells me exactly what teams think of Boro and how predictable we are to set up against them. Reggie Lebris, he said pre-match, like Heckingbottom the week before, he knew exactly what to expect, how the game was going to go, and it transpired on the pitch exactly in that manner. I wouldn't say there was much between both sides here. I wouldn't say Sunderland wowed me or blew us away or anything. I think there was very little between the two sides, but this showed exactly why Sunderland are where they are and exactly why we are where we are. They took the chances that came their way, defended very, very well as they have done all season, whereas Boro could have been there all month and not broken through their defence. So, yeah, Sunderland continue to march on and continue their good start of the season. Boro have serious, serious work to do. Bristol City 2, Oxford 1, another result I got bang on. Doing alright this weekend so far. And to be fair, this was another harsh championship lesson for Oxford United because from the momentum on FootMob, it did seem like Bristol City, dominated the first half an hour. However, once Oxford scored, and it was a good finish, they could have had more. They hit the bar, Harris missed an absolute sitter, and you're looking at their moments and thinking that could have put Oxford 2-0 up, and then it's a different game. They just can't quite give themselves a big enough advantage, and naturally Bristol City come back into the game with an Armstrong equaliser and a Naki Wells winner, which takes all 3 points to Ashton Gate. A big result for Bristol City. I think they needed this. Liam Manning needed this. The game, as I said in the predictions, they've got to be winning at home. So I think they'll want to put recent results behind them now. They've got this one done and coming from behind as well. I'm sure there would have been a lot of anxiety once Oxford took the lead. You know what? For Oxford, once again, a bit like the Coventry game, they've put up a very, very impressive performance and a very good, solid performance and showing away at a very tough place to go in the Championship. So, yep, they've come out with no points. Their winless, pointless away run continues, but there's certainly promising signs that Oxford continue to be competitive. They just have to ensure they take their chances because you get punished at this level. Burnley 2, Pompey 1. Wasn't far off with this one. I said 2-0 to Burnley, and you know what? Again, I don't want to keep sounding like I'm obsessed with Burnley's data, but once again, they had 18 shots, only 4 on target here. A lot of possession, quality of chances didn't look as good as Pompey's. Pompey obviously only had the 2 shots on target, so there wasn't much between these two sides, so maybe you could argue that Burnley's quality is what got them through here. But I wouldn't still say they're massively convincing me. It's a game they should win, absolutely. And Sarmiento's equaliser was outstanding. Brownhill's winner was strange. It was almost in slow motion. And it's more heartbreak for Pompey. I think given recent results that they've had, some tough games against Sunderland and then last week as well, I feel like they continue to really put in, really good, impressive showings that, again, a bit like Oxford, are competitive. They're just coming out on the wrong side of a couple of results. They lost points late at Boro, late at Leeds, and now late at Burnley. So, again, I'm not judging them, but I still think there's enough there to give me confidence that when they play teams who they should be competing with more so a bit lower in the league, they'll come out on a lot more of these results on the right side rather than the wrong side. As for Burnley, I'm still not convinced by them, but they got over the line, they won the game, which is what the job was at the end of the day, and it's 3 points that they will take because they could have easily dropped 2. Cardiff 0, Leeds United 2. Another one I predicted bang on. I said Leeds 2-0, and let's be fair, the writing was on the wall once the red card dropped. Bagan with a last-minute hack, really, at Nonto, I think it was, and he sort of tries to then get back at him again. I don't think it's harsh. I think he's given the referee a decision to make there, and, naturally, you know where the game is going to go after that. Leeds dominating with multiple shots on target. A solid away win for them, and, they continue to pick up points relatively consistently. Let's talk about Cardiff and Errol Bulut. I said in the predictions show I did, would it be harsh sacking him after this game? I think it would be because, how often are Cardiff going to beat Leeds, when these two come up against one another, and, his team he had a hand tied behind his back, really, from 23 minutes on after, a man, Bagan was sent off and they were a man down, but still, the start of the season, when you look at it, isn't great reading for Cardiff City. So although I still don't think Bulut was quite deserving of being sacked right now, Cardiff fans might feel different. Feel free to tell me in the comments, but yeah, I think maybe panic is setting a little bit and they just are desperate to stop this slide. And Errol Bulut's the man who's obviously going to take the brunt of that. So, yeah, be intriguing to see who they get in and if they can turn things around quickly. Because, yeah, regardless of game state, red cards or whatever, it's been an absolutely dreadful start for Cardiff. Coventry 1, Swansea 2. I mean, if there was one team or one fan base in the Championship who I think warrants being more frustrated than Borough's, it's probably Coventry. And there's no surprise to see that Boro and Coventry continue to be tied at the waist with everything we both do in terms of starting the season absolutely terribly. You know, they went behind early on to Swansea, 2-0 down, got back into it with, you know, just after the half an hour mark, and then had some really big chances to get back into the game. You know, they hit the bar, then they had a good one saved after that. It's another game where I'm sure they'll be looking at it exactly like how Boro have looked at many games this season, where they've had an abundance of shots, more on target, more big chances, and their opposition are taking theirs and they're coming out on the wrong side. All I will say, Coventry fans, is I relate to you 100%. What I would be eager to hear from Coventry fans is Mark Robins under pressure? Is he starting to become under pressure? Because this is a Coventry side that is, you know, stacked with talent. That's a lot of money's been spent on. And for the second season in a row, you guys have started quite poorly along with Boro. And I don't think Carrick will come under any pressure as yet because Steve Gibson's a patient owner. But I'd be intrigued to see what fans think down at Coventry because they are 19th. And it just feels like their season just will not get going, and you can't really see where it's going to get going. So I'd be intrigued to hear from Coventry fans. It's a fantastic away win for Swansea. Honestly, this might be a result they look back on. Winning at the CBS at the end of the season is a huge 3 points for them, but Coventry, yeah, where do we even start? I feel so sorry for you guys. Luton 2, Sheffield Wednesday 1. They'll take this one, Luton. I think this is a big, big win for them. Another really big win. They come from behind here. Barry Bannon's opener was an absolute cracker. A fantastic volley. But Sheffield Wednesday blew their opportunity to get back to winning ways and not only take 3 points from, you know, the Kenny, but they didn't even take one because Bernard was sent off in the 74th minute. I've had a look at this a few times and he does obviously block the ball from going in. I still can't quite tell where if it hits his shoulder or his arm. It's that awkward, you know, where does the sleeve stop? Where do you draw the line? It's one of them, but I guess the referee, you know, has to take it as if he's prevented the goal from going in with a part of his arm. And that obviously allowed Luton to get back into it. I will still credit Luton though because, you know, a lot of teams, even with a man up, can struggle to break the opposition down and get back into it, you know, after 60 minutes, 70 minutes. But they turned the game around pretty much within the next 20. You know, Morris with a penalty, and then an 88th minute winner, which could be a huge moment for Luton Town. You know, it really could. They've got their first win. They've backed it up here in dramatic circumstances. I think this is another big test for them, coming from behind, winning at home, a late winner. Could really give confidence for this Luton side and helping them kick on and really get their season going. Sheffield Wednesday, again, you know, they were better again here, but they've thrown away points once more and they're now starting to look over their shoulder a little bit. Sheffield United 1, Derby 0. A glorious free kick from Gus Harmer. Once again, I think this is a sign that, as we've seen with Sheffield United in many games, they're not blowing teams away, but their quality is showing and it's getting them solid professional points. Another clean sheet as well. I'll just repeat what I've said about Sheffield United. They're just doing a solid, consistent job, and that's all they need to keep doing. They did pepper the Derby goal, in fairness. 18 shots in this game. Derby, though, well, this is why I'm not getting too carried away with Derby, even though their home form is good, and yet, granted, they were at Bramall Lane here, and I didn't expect them to get much from this game. 2 shots, not on target. XG of 0.05. This is where I'm concerned for Derby. Away from home, I just don't see anywhere near enough from them, and that reliance on their home form, you know, can you rely on that and that alone to keep you in the Championship? I don't know. But Sheffield United, well deserved. They'll only be a little bit annoyed they didn't get more from this game, but yeah, the Blades just keep marching on. They just started the season very, very well. West Brom 1, Plymouth 0. Now, you know, I looked at the scoreline and I thought, yeah, this might have been West Brom knocking at the door, dominating the game, and they just found a way eventually. But then I looked at the highlights, I looked at the stats, and Plymouth. You know, fair enough. Going to the most, I think, difficult place to go in the league right now, given their away form, given their start to the season, they put up a fantastic fight here. You know, I guess the XG's massively in West Brom's favour, so maybe quality of chances still weren't quite with Plymouth, but 17 shots and 4 on target matched West Brom, albeit none of them were down on footmob, at least as big chances. This was just a more competitive performance from Plymouth, and I'm starting to see positive signs from them, and I'm glad. You know, I'm as much as we've been critical of Plymouth, I want Rooney to do well. I think he's a fantastic, you know, character in the game, a great footballer. Be great to see him do well, and I love Plymouth as a club, so I'd be intrigued to hear what Plymouth fans think, because this does seem like things are starting to turn in the right direction, and, you know, losing 1-0 narrowly to West Brom isn't a bad result. You know, a lot of teams have certainly suffered worse this season, so I was, you know, quietly surprised and happy to see this from Plymouth. But West Brom, I mean, what more can you say? Another clean sheet, and, you know, this is the sort of game that, I'm not going to say title winners, because I'm not going to go that far, but this is the sort of game that promotion-winning teams come out on the right side of. You know, we saw this under Karanka at Boro, you know, back in the day when we got promoted. A lot of tight games where a moment of quality would win us the game, and it proved crucial. And West Brom, even though they were in a game here, definitely found a way to win. Josh Madger once again with the goal from a brilliant delivery down the right-hand side. And, you know, the more I see West Brom and Sheffield United winning these sort of games the way they are, the more confident I am in the pair of them that they're both going to be right up there. And finally, on Sunday, Preston 0, Blackburn 0. Disappointed there were no goals in this game, albeit highlight-wise, I mean, I don't know, really. There wasn't much going on shots-wise. It looked like Pears made the bigger of the saves between the two, but it was, of course, dominated by both red cards. And Greenwood's looked pretty nasty. What I will say is I think Trey Humes against Boro, you know, his tackle on Lath looked just as bad. He got a booking, Greenwood got a red here, but I think it's the way he scissors into the Blackburn player that I think makes the referee's mind up. As for the other one, I mean, Beck, yeah, he sort of kicks out at one of the Preston players, so I think his red card's warranted too, but obviously as Majic then comes in and looks like he bites the back of Beck's neck, which is disgusting behaviour, and we've seen 10-game bans for that in the past in the Premier League. So, you know, for the sake of preventing this from happening again and clamping down on behaviour like that, I hope they look into it and give him a ban, because it is disgraceful behaviour on a football pitch and he should have been sent off as well. But as for the result, at least, I think it's a better one for Preston. You know, 2 draws in a row now against Boro and against Blackburn, who are flying. I think they'll take that, given that they were down to 10 men for over a half. So they'll take that. Blackburn may be a tad frustrated, but equally, a point's probably a good result for both, and they'll go away, I think, happy to take it. So there's my roundup of the Championship Round 6. We'll be back later this week to preview next weekend's round of fixtures. As always, let me know your thoughts on your team in the comment section below. What do you think of the Championship League table? I don't like looking at it until 10 games in, but you're seeing West Brom, Sunderland, Burnley, Sheffield United, Leeds in and around the top 6, Blackburn hovering around 2. You're starting to see some of the big clubs settling and getting into gear now, and that's what's making me look at my own team, Boro. You know, I also look at Luton and Coventry, and I do think, are these poor starts going to cost us? These teams can't afford to slip any further behind. So let me know your thoughts. As always, as I say, like the video, subscribe for much more if you've enjoyed it. And until the next one, guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.